Well, hello there, my name is Vladimir. Welcome to my studio. Today we're checking out the two Notes Torpedo CAB M. And just to clarify, it's this one over here. If you're not familiar with CAB M, it's basically an impulse response loader and a cabinet simulation thingy and power amp simulation thing. And you can add some room reverb, EQ, stuff like that on top of it as well. We're going to dive into the ins and outs of the pedal. We are going to talk about different ways you can use it. We'll dive into the software as well. All of the tracks were recorded using this setup you see here. Engel Alpha Drive, Rev G3 and G4. Two Notes clean tube preamp, a demo of that coming later as well. And then everything went through the two Notes Torpedo CAB M, and from the Torpedo CAB M I was using both a power amp simulation and a cabinet simulation. And actually I was using exactly the same Rev 4x12, the closed back one, and all the same microphones and everything that I use with my two Notes Torpedo Live. Where is it? Here, behind me. And I usually go from my Rev Dynamis into that one. I was using exactly the same cabinet. These two kind of work really well together, or like everything software wise is completely compatible, so I was just able to copy paste that profile into this one and I was good to go. That was really cool. But yeah, let's dive into the ins and outs now. The CAB M's footprint is probably like half the size of the older CAB pedal, which had like 2 foot switches and stuff. But I think the company decided that not everybody needs a foot switch with this. I personally wouldn't. I would select the CAB and go with that for the whole set. So they decided to give up the foot switches and made this twice as small, at least. I think I haven't actually like had the older version at my studio at any point. But yeah, it's small, it's slightly bigger than a single rev pedal. So it's like almost a kind of standard stompbox size, but not quite. And yeah, it's just super sturdy. Everything you do on the pedal happens through these two knobs over here. You can click them and they rotate, and that's really it. On the input side there's an amp / instrument / line in, and there's a speak out, and there's already some warnings over here, and I'm going to say it again. This is not a load box. When you're using this with a real amp, always be sure that when you're going from your amp's speak output into this pedal, be sure to use the speak out as well. And from here you will go to a cabinet or to a load box, because this thing doesn't load down your amplifier, and if you don't do it properly you are in risk of damaging your amplifier. So yeah, it's not a load box, just saying. On the input side there's also -24 dB in level, 0 dB, 12 dB, and it depends on what kind of input source you are using. I think in this case, since we're going just kind of guitar or instrumental signal, it's probably ±0, so just 0 dB. I'm losing words. Yeah, USB in or USB port comes, unless I'm forgetting, I think it comes with a micro USB cable, and when you plug this into your computer you can use the whole two Note software. More on that later. 12 volts, 200 milliamps DC. Apparently this can run on 9 volts as well, and I've actually done that successfully. So not apparently, it can actually run on 9 volt DC as well. Don't ask me why it works on both or how it does it. It just works. Yeah. On the top side there's a bunch of my fingerprints, and the little thingy here is a micro SD card. And this is a 256 megabyte one, and basically what you can do with this card is to store your own impulse responses onto it. I believe you can expand this micro SD card with a bigger one if you want to. I do not know why you would want to have thousands and thousands of impulse responses on this pedal, but if you do, it's possible. And actually, if you do need that many, please let me know why do you need so many. I'm really interested. On the left side, line out, DI out, ground left switch, aux in, so you can, for example, send your backing tracks into this, for example. Headphones out. So for example, this setup here would allow you to monitor your guitar with headphones, which is really cool. And so far, the only kind of complaint I've had about this pedal is that, yeah, we have two outputs, but you cannot split them in a way where one of the outputs would output the cabinet simulated signal and the other one would output exactly what you're putting in there as well, so kind of through connection, because this would allow you to, for example, if I actually used this pedal live with a bass rig once already, and I wanted to send the unaffected bass signal into the bass amp that I was using for personal monitoring, and then I sent a cabinet simulated signal in front of house, but I wasn't able to do that the way I wanted because you cannot kind of split the signal on this. But yeah, that's the only complaint I've had so far with this pedal. And again, an easy solution is to put an A/B box in front of it, so one of those signals will go into the amp and then you go into the CAB M, and from here you go to the front of house. Alright, let's talk about different ways you can use this. First of all, this is not a radio, it's my Oral Tone Junior head. It's an amp that I've built from a kit, and something that it has is a... oh damn, this thing is really heavy. It has a line out, and this amp, this particular amp, has a special kind of load thing in it. So when I'm using the line out, I do not have to have the speak out plugged in, but, and again, I want to repeat this, just that nobody breaks anything because of my video. On most amps, like 99% of the amps, this isn't the case. Even if it has a line out, you still need to have your cabinet plugged in, most likely. But on this amp, I could just go from the line out into the CAB M, and then I would apply just the cabinet simulation, because in this amp, the signal chain is such that the line out comes after the power amp, so it's not like an effect send of an amp. And yeah, then I could go into the CAB M, apply some speaker simulation, maybe some space room thingy, and then into the recording interface or to the front of house. So that's one way to use it. The second way to use it, and I already touched on this, you can go from your amp's effects send, and then you would go into the CAB M, and from there you would apply both power amp and cabinet simulation. Power amp simulation also because when you're going from your effects send, it's before the power amp in, I think it's pretty much in every amp like that. So yeah, you probably want to have some power amp simulation as well over there. And again, in this case, you still would need to have your amp properly loaded. So make sure that you're also going from your amp's speak out into a proper cabinet. Just saying, I don't want anyone to break anything. And then, as I mentioned in the beginning, you can also go from your amp's speak out. Wait, which is the speak out? This is the speak out on here. Yeah. You can go from your amp's speak out into the amp in, as it says on the box. And as I mentioned in the beginning, and I'm going to say it again, then you would have to use a second speaker cable. First of all, you need to go from your amp's speaker output into the amp in using a speaker cable, and then you need to use a second speaker cable from the speaker out on the pedal and go into a cab or a load box as well, so you don't break anything and your amp is properly loaded. So yeah, you can do that, and then you can go out from here to recording interface or front of house, whatever you want to do. And this way you could, for example, monitor yourself through a normal cabinet on the stage, but it also allows you to send a really high quality cabinet simulated signal to the front of house, and you don't have to worry about anyone knocking down your carefully placed microphone in front of the amp or anything like that. So that's a really convenient way to use it and get the kind of proper feel on the stage, but also send a really high quality cabinet simulated sound to the front of house. And one more way to use it is, well, obviously this one that you can see in the top camera, pedals, preamp, and then the cabinet simulation going on. And I'm really excited about this setup because not only it sounds good, well, it looks good as well, but it feels great to play. There will be a separate demo of the clean at some point in the near future, and I really like this combination. It gives me a kind of feel and playability of a pretty good clean amp plus some pedals, and it allows me to create a fully pedal board based setup for kind of quick gigs and rehearsals and stuff like that. and that is something that I will probably end up doing in the near future as well. I think those are all the ways that you can use the CAB M, but if I'm forgetting something, or like if you come up with some other ideas how to use it, please let me know in the comments down below. I know you want to hear some sounds, and yeah, my telly, we're going through these pedals. I'm going to turn them on at some point, like clean, which is on the kind of a drive channel. There's a slight crunch going on, and then we are going into the CAB M, and I'm using the, let me show it to you. Hey, it does show on the screen. So yeah, the Rev 4x12, I've called the preset basically a kind of Fredman technique thing because I was using two SM57s, and here's how it sounds right now, and we'll add some reverb in a bit, and I'll kind of demonstrate to you how it is to operate from the pedal itself. So a really cool kind of a blackface style clean sound, and let's dive into the pedal itself. So basically you operate with two knobs. Clicking the left one will enter kind of this, how do you want to call it, menu thing. There's three different modes. I'll try to operate this in the way that you can see that's what's happening on the screen. Arcade mode is basically like a simplified version of the user interface. If you're new to impulse response pedals and such, this will make your life easier. Simulation is the more in-depth one, and then there's the impulse response mode as well. Then we can turn the power amp off or on. Apparently it was actually off. So that's a good way to demonstrate what's happening here. You can change the type of the power amp, penta, triode. Absolutely no idea what the differences are. There's several different kind of power amp simulations. Let's go with the EL34s. I just like them. Then miking is on. You can choose the cabinet. I can adjust the microphones I'm using here, both of them. Actually, it's not two 57s, it was the 57 and condenser 87. You can adjust the levels of both of the microphones, mute them, and my condenser is actually on mute. Let's unmute it. You can change the phase. You can adjust the axis of the microphone, which is really cool. You can adjust the distance from the cabinet, and basically you can do everything from the pedal that you can do in the software as well, and that's pretty cool with just two knobs. There's an EQ you can turn on and off. You can change, there's kind of three modes. There's guitar, bass, and custom is basically a kind of parametric EQ, which allows you to really fine tune it. More on that in the software side of things. EQs, reverb is on. And let's pick something like kind of obvious, so maybe Hall. Let's listen to it. Maybe not Hall. Crypt. Cathedral. Now we're talking. Let's just back down the drive it. Yeah, so a little bit on the background. And then there's the preset level, and that's it. We're done. We can save this, click save, and yeah, we're done. So that is basically how you operate the pedal. There's some in-depth functions and stuff like that. If you really want to get in-depth with the menus and pedals and such, well, first of all, Henning has done video, not one video, actually 4 or 5 videos, where he goes like in really in-depth on this pedal and shows you every feature in not such short videos. There's like 3 hours of content or something. If you want to check those out, follow the link below in the description. And if you want to get into like super technical details, my buddy Max Solo has done an awesome in-depth kind of not a teardown, but I don't know, deep dive into this pedal, and he demonstrates all of the kind of more in-depth functions and impulse response milliseconds and something like that. All of those things in his video as well. So if you want to see that, links below in the description as well. I'm just going to give you an overview of how this thing works. But yeah, that is how you operate it. Let's just check out a couple of the sounds. Yeah, just quick examples without even touching the controls that much. And obviously you can also add some modulations in front of the preamp. I would personally probably put the modulation effects actually after the CAB M, so it would be kind of a studio type thing where you kind of record your guitar tracks dry and then you apply effects on top of that, so delays and reverbs would probably come here in the signal chain here. My hand is out of the camera, but yeah, behind the CAB M. But more on that on the possible pedal board build video in the future. And let's dive into the software now. Alright, let's take a quick look at the software. I'm actually using the Torpedo Live software because it's pretty much the same. But yeah, the same things. So there's an arcade mode, as I mentioned. This is kind of simplified mode. There's the preset level, out level, and just like few controls over here. In the simulation mode, you can go in depth. This is the preset we had on the pedal as well. Basically two different microphones, a 57 and dynamic 87. My eyesight isn't what it used to be. There's an option to have the power amp on the Torpedo Live. I don't have it on, but yeah, you can drive the power amp if you want to. There's depth and presence controls, pento, triode, EQ. You can have a guitar, bass. When we switch to bass, the kind of frequencies change, or a custom one, which makes this a parametric EQ. So if you like really want to fine tune your sound, you can do that with the EQ. On the reverb side, there's several different studios or spaces. There's Studio A, Studio B, there's a basement, as I mentioned, a loft, Hall A, Hall B, crypt, cathedral, I cannot pronounce that word. You can select from all of these awesome microphones. You can move the microphones further, closer, both of them on axis, off axis as well, volume control between the two, overall preset volume over here, or like output volume, and this is the preset level. What else? There's the impulse response loader, and here you can upload your own. I don't have any on the Torpedo. No, I have one on the Torpedo itself, and from here I can browse the files and upload. I can have two. I think Torpedo Live does only 20 millisecond ones, but the CAB M does 40 millisecond ones as well, or maybe even longer. And there's some technical things with longer IRs, especially the bass response is apparently better. Cabinet manager, what's on the device itself, what's on my kind of catalog, so to speak. Preset manager and impulse response manager. Yeah, there's different. You can basically like select between the ones you need. I think you get the idea. It's just super cool software. Something I forgot to mention, that you can place the microphone in the back of the cabinet, and especially with, let's go for something that's open back. Yeah, here's an open back cabinet. Like Here it would probably actually make sense to have something behind the cabinet if you want to do so. But yeah, amazing software, and this is something you cannot do with an impulse response, like I grab a microphone and move it in space and hear in real time how the sound changes. If you're interested in a more in-depth dive of the software, you can follow the link in the description to my video of the new Notes software. I love this thing. It makes recording guitar so much fun and helps me to get amazing sounds at any volume. I love it, and you'll probably love it too. So that concludes my demo of the Notes CAB M. I'm really impressed with this pedal, and I love it because I'm super familiar. I'm still forgetting on which side it is. I'm super familiar with the Torpedo Live software, and especially with the update that they came up with a few months ago. I think, yeah, a few months ago. Just 2 microphones and the way the whole software works, it's super fun and easy to operate, and it's great in recording sessions, for example, because it allows you to fine-tune the sounds really quickly, and to me at least it feels much more intuitive when you can just move the microphones in the virtual space instead of browsing through impulse response files. I mean, the fact that you can upload 2 impulse responses on this as well and use them at the same time is really cool. And the fact that the presets are transferable between the devices, that's cool. I know that there's also an Android and iOS app in the beta phase right now, and I think you can operate all of that via Bluetooth. I think it has Bluetooth, unless I'm forgetting. If it doesn't have, you'll see a warning sign here that I'm lying to you. But yeah, a really great pedal, hardware-wise, software-wise, size-wise, and one important thing that always gets lost with these, especially kind of cheap Chinese impulse response loaders, is the fact how well the company can handle software over time. Especially the Torpedo Live is what, 7-8 years old, and they still were able to update it with the latest software that is now compatible with the CAB M, which is most likely much more powerful than the software in the Torpedo Live. So that's super impressive, and it makes me trust the company a lot. And I mean, after so many years, you can still get awesome updates on the Torpedo Live, and they will probably do with the same with the CAB M as well. A company that's really easy to like. That's it. Thanks to Notes for sending these pedals. If you want to get yours, please follow the link below in the description. If you found this video helpful, interesting, fun, anything like that, please consider giving it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below. Get yourself a Cat Pick Studios t-shirt if you want to support what I do. Subscribe, notification bell, all that stuff. Thanks for watching this video. I shall see you next time.